this trajectory of the Gamecock basketball program now pretty fascinating as well. We're getting some inside perspective on that right now as we head over to Westwood High School. Their basketball coach, John Combs, joining us on this is day one there at Westwood with the whole staff in. John, is that what's going now?
Yeah, that's correct. We just had a convocation, a welcome message from Dr. Barron Davis, welcoming us all back, and got a little bit of break before we start another full day of teacher training and welcoming back activities.
Well, thanks for fitting us in, man. Much appreciated there. I see the decorating is still pretty stark behind you. This is your classroom we got going?
Yeah, this is my classroom, and I think the internet's much better than out in Ridgeway that I had before. So we've got to get some stuff up soon.
All right, but you got the connection going, already emotional here on the program. I can see. I know joining the program is very emotional on day number one. But actually, all joking aside, it had to be a kind of an emotional, in a positive way, for sure. Emotional day yesterday. Your guy Arden Conyers announcing his verbal commitment to play at South Carolina. You had just told us last week, 2 weeks ago, that South Carolina was actually talking to him and monitoring, and then bang, this happens. I know we were talking last night a little bit, just saying, man, things go quickly in recruiting. Tell us how all this went down from your perspective.
Well, things did happen quickly, but this is a long process that goes back to when coaches could first start going back out on the road after Coach Paris and then were hired. Um, Coach Eddie Shannon, one of his new assistants, he was one of the first ones to come out and visit our school. And this is where I'll give a lot of credit to Kerry Rich. I mean, me and Kerry Rich have a fantastic relationship. And Kerry did a great job of making sure Coach Paris and his staff went out to see a bunch of local high school coaches and their teams work out. We've had a class here where our young men can work out and get shots up all throughout the year. And so when Coach Shannon came out, you can just see that they liked Arden. They were going to continue to track him, be interested in him. And, as things played out, we went out to, they were able to see him play some AU events. And then we had some scholastic events where in June, where we played in Rock Hill, and Coach Paris and his staff was there all 3 days there in Rock Hill, getting to watch everybody from South Carolina that was there. And Arden played really well. I mean, he especially had a game against Lexington High School that had Cam Scott, who, is one of the top recruits in the country, played extremely well against him. And I can't help but think that really opened his eyes. And you can tell that they were certainly very interested in Arden at the time. And then the very next weekend, we played in Georgia at a large team camp evaluation event where we were one of only 9 South Carolina teams that were able to participate in that event. And Coach Paris was there, I think, pretty much all 3 or 4 of our games while we were there. And you can tell that they were being intentional about evaluating Arden, about getting to know him, developing relationships with him, and not just Coach Paris. It was Coach Eddie Shannon, Tanner Bronson, Tim Buckley, and even, Kerry Rich has known Arden for a long time as well. So he had a really good July with his AU team. Coach Curtis Wheeler does a great job with the Upward Stars program. And you could just see that it seems like from the outside it went quick. And I guess you could say when an offer came, it did go quick. But this is where Coach Paris and his staff was extremely deliberate in their evaluation of them and staying connected with them and developing a relationship. Because they want to make sure, and they're not just offering a guy based off talent. There's also got to be a culture fit. And I will say too, privately, my loyalty is always going to be with my players first and foremost. What is a good fit for them and a good situation for them? And me as a coach, my goal is never to tell a player where to go. One of my goals as a coach to help them go to where they want to go. Help them maybe ask questions to make sure they have a good fit, not necessarily just the highest level possible. What I know about Coach Paris and got to know him and his staff a little bit, I think Arden is a great fit for him. And I think Arden saw the same thing. It really didn't matter what I thought. What did Arden feel? And Arden got to spend time on unofficial visits there with him and conversations and messages. And he's just really excited about an opportunity to play at a really high level.
Interested in that last part, especially, John. What makes Arden Conyers a good fit for Lamont Paris in South Carolina?
Because I think Arden's he's really developed well. Every year we've had him, he's continued to have gotten better. He shot 38.5% from three last year, and I think he's even better than that. He is a hard worker that wants to develop. He wants to be coached. He wants to be coached. He wants to study the game. And I think, now I will say this, I don't think Arden wants to be yelled at, cussed at, and fussed at the entire time, but he wants to be coached. And those are differences. Some guys do need a guy that's going to yell and scream and challenge you a little bit. Arden wants to be coached. And I think, Arden saw the plan. Coach Paris laid out a plan for him and talked about different things, how they see his development. And that really spoke to Arden. I don't know all the exact details of everything he said with that particular conversation, but that resonated with him. And I think we're all of us were excited to see how Coach Paris is going to develop. It's one thing to do it at Chattanooga. It's a whole nother thing to do it at the SEC level, but he's really intentional about it, and I'm excited to see how it goes.
Again, from the outside looking in, you see G.G. Jackson at the top, number one recruit in the country. You see Arden Conyers and Colin Murray Boyles. I believe they played together in AAU.
Yep.
As the only Power 5 offers coming from South Carolina. You realize it's a much different thing. I think the natural knee-jerk reaction from fans is to be a little concerned if you have a guy or a few guys where the other competing schools in the recruiting process aren't way up on the food chain. What's your message for fans that kind of digest it or ingest that information that way?
Well, fans just, obviously I'm very biased to both of the young men because I've seen them play. Recruiting is such a challenging thing, and it's such an interesting thing. Their development, they've got such a high ceiling for development. I don't want a player to be recruited by the highest level if I don't think he can handle it. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, Arden Conyers and Colin Murray Bowles, that they can handle it. And I believe when it's all said and done, both of those young men will have outstanding careers at the University of South Carolina. And I really believe long careers. Arden is 6'6", 6'7". He can really shoot the ball. He's got a really good frame on him that with college nutrition, college weight room, time to focus strictly on that I think his development, people are going to probably look back at me in 4 or 5 years. So why didn't you do more with him? That's going to be because he's going to continue to grow. He's going to continue to get better. And the one thing I'll also give Coach Paris and his staff credit, they want guys that want to be there. They want guys that want to stay at home, that want to compete at the high level. All those guys want to compete at the high level. Arden wants to compete against the best. He doesn't want to just compete. He wants to win. And the thing I like about Arden is he's driven to win. He's not a stat-driven guy. He's a guy that, I think there was one game where he played really well, but somebody else gave him an MVP. Sometimes I worry about that with guys, what they think, because they're worried about accolades. That wasn't him. He didn't care. He was excited that we won. So I get fans want all the 5-star, 4-star guys that you can possibly get or whatever that is. But, these guys, I think, are going to outshine and outbe what some of these higher level rated guys are. And you got to be able, I think a lot of guys didn't know who, we'll go back to some old school guys. Ryan Stack, he wasn't a 5-star or anything like that. And he turned out to be pretty good, useful person for the University of South Carolina. You can see, Michael Carrera that played here back in the day. Some of these other guys that weren't these highest rated guys. I mean, this is where Coach Paris and the staff, they're going to have to earn their money because they got to be able to find some guys that aren't the highest 4 or 5-star guys and do it. And I love the fact that they're taking chance on the in-state guys.
Do you think G.G. Jackson, everything that came with that, gave Lamont Paris and his staff a little bit more leeway to make an offer to a guy like Arden Conyers or Colin Murray Boyles at the time they did? Or do you think this would have gone down regardless, John?
Well, that's obviously the best question for them because I don't know if people really understand how many moving parts there are in recruiting. And even more so now with the transfer portal. And, guys can come and go, and that's a great question. maybe that did. Maybe if they didn't get Gigi, they'd want to go a different direction. And maybe they know more about their roster and staff that they need, and what they're going to project down the road. I mean, it is a really hard thing. The thing that I really liked, I didn't want them to see Arden and play one really good game, or any player for that matter, one really good game, and have a knee-jerk reaction. Say, we got to get him. Okay, him and their staff spent a lot of time evaluating him, getting to know him. And does he fit their culture and what they want to do offensively and defensively? And Arden is a really good teammate, and I believe Colin Murray-Bowles is as well. So when you see that, and I know that they know who they're in on, or who they've got a really good shot at, or down the road, what they're going to be. And that's the thing. You're not only projecting for next year, you're trying to project probably a few years down the road and what you may need. And one thing I will say this, Arden's got work to do to get better. The one thing I really loved about him too yesterday, I was talking to him yesterday. I said, all right, how are you going to celebrate tonight? What are you going to do? Are y'all going out, family, do anything? He goes, I'm going to go be in the gym. And that's him. He wanted to be in the gym. He wants to get better. He's excited that he committed to the University of South Carolina, but he's like, all right, next thing, let's go get better. And so I think he's like I said, he's a really good shooter. And more importantly, as Coach George Glimp used to say, he's a maker. Everybody thinks they're a shooter. He's a maker, and I think his shots, being at 6'7", they'll be able to translate at the SEC level. Of course, there's a speed difference that he'll have to get accustomed to, as any high school to college player does. But I think his game will translate in that regards.
Timing wise, why do you think this went down yesterday when it did?
When Arden wanted, I'll let him speak for himself, probably better and faster than anybody else. But I think Arden when he got an offer from the University of South Carolina last week, he went on an official visit to Winthrop. He's been to Furman. He's been to Georgia Southern. He's had other people, talk to him. He felt really good about that. He didn't want to wait. And, because there have been guys, Ja Morant, let's go back to him in the past. I mean, South Carolina came in late, but Murray State already developed a relationship with them. And for whatever reason, Ja Morant just wanted to stay with that commitment. So I credit Arden, his parents, and then Coach Paris and his staff for creating an environment. By all accounts, when I talked to Arden, there was no pressure on Arden to commit. It's like, hey, you got to commit now, or we're moving on. It wasn't like that. Coach Paris has laid everything out on the line for him. He liked what he said. He didn't want to waste any time. I would have told you too, this is where recruiting has changed a little bit. Whereas before COVID, sometimes you would tell a guy to take a little bit of time to figure out what you want. But nowadays, if someone really wants you, and I don't advise guys to wait as long as you can, because offers are hard to get, especially in basketball, especially with the COVID kids still out there with the extra eligibility, and you got somebody that believes in you, and he really likes them. I mean, there's, like I said, Lamont Paris was there in Georgia for three days straight, or 2 days straight, when we played, and watched every game. And, you could tell that was really important.
Things going down at Westwood High School today. Big day for the faculty and staff. Appreciate you taking time out of the day, John. Last question for you. How does getting a commit to Carolina before the school year even starts, going into a senior year, how does this change your job, if at all, for this upcoming season?
Well, one thing I'm thrilled that he's got his college decision out of his way. He can concentrate now on getting better as a player, and then helping us getting better as a team to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. And of course, we've got high goals and big dreams for us this year. It certainly puts a bullseye a little bit more on our back and his back. He's a University of South Carolina commit. Everybody's going to come at him. Everybody's going to come at us. They want to prove that they're better than him. They want to beat. I know I did when I was a coach. Anytime we played a Power 5 guy, that you wanted to be better than them. And so now, whereas he maybe wanted to prove himself a little bit, and maybe I wanted him to prove himself a little bit last year, now he could play and work on winning, and we can, it certainly raises the expectations level for us, but that's fine. I mean, I'm good with it. I want expectations on our program and what we want to try to do. I mean, there's a reason why we're going to go to Oak Hill Academy. Not that, where he's got as much talent as Oak Hill Academy and playing Coach Eric Stoneman there, but I think we've got players that can compete at a high level, and we want to give them that opportunity.
Good stuff, man. Anything else you need everybody to know about this situation before we let you go? I know you got to get back to work there. I don't see anything on the walls yet. We got to get some posters. You got maybe you got some staff in charge of that.
No, no. Well, there is a staff of one. That's me. No, I got another meeting here in 5 minutes, but I will tell you, Gamecock fans, they're gonna love Arden. They're gonna love that he's going to represent our university well. He's going to work really hard, and he's a humble guy. He's not social media driven. He's on social media a little bit, but he's not like, all right, I got to create this big old song and dance, about me. It's never been about Arden. Arden wants to win. But that being said, he is a highly competitive guy. Real short story. When we went to Georgia play in that event, he was talking a little trash to a couple of his teammates when we went out bowling one night, and he was smoking them early. And then all of a sudden, Arden had back-to-back gutter ball frames, and it was not pretty. And just to see him upset about it, I love seeing guys being really competitive and think he got it a little bit, and then he doesn't, but he wants to win. And I think he's going to be a guy Gamecock fans are going to really love over the years, and I think he's going to really have a really good career.